Welcome artists to Monet Cafe Studio. Today I'm excited to take you on a journey of capturing beautiful light and shadow in a landscape with soft pastels. You'll see my painting process unfold as I bring a glowing meadow to life with expressive and painterly strokes. I was excited for the first time to try painting on Canson Velvet. It's the rage right now with soft pastel artists, and boy, did it hold up to all of the praise. My painting inspiration is this absolutely gorgeous reference image from unsplash.com. I will have the link to this image and also all of my product links in the description of this video. Because Canson Velvet is water friendly, I really wanted to put it to the test and try a few different techniques. So I first began with a sketch using some pastels. These are Prismacolor New Pastels, only one color for the sketch. It's this beautiful sepia toned color. So I literally just created a simple sketch, and then I decided just to wet it with water. And many people aren't aware that pastels literally turn into paint when you wet them. So it's a wonderful way to begin a painting for a nice, loose, and painterly style. Before beginning this painting, I wanted to try some different products on this Canson Velvet. And you may have seen the video just before this one where I give you all of these different examples of products used on this. Now, I loved the watercolor. That's what I'm applying right now. And I just was amazed at how smoothly and beautifully it applied to the Canson Velvet. So therefore, I decided to also add watercolor to this underpainting. Doing a watercolor underpainting is one of my favorite ways to begin a soft pastel painting. Of course, you have to have a water-friendly surface, which this Canson pastel surface is. So I've got my cup of coffee, I've mixed up some warm colors of watercolor, and now it's time to start. I wasn't even quite sure of how this watercolor would apply on top of the pastel that I have already liquefied using the water. But wow, to my amazement, it just glided so beautifully over the surface and even over the pastel application that I had already wet. So again, all thumbs up for this Canson Velvet. It's exceeding my expectations and then some. So I'm basically just using different values of warm tones. I have the yellow that I did for the lightest areas, the orangey colors for kind of middle values, the reds for some deeper areas in the shadows, and I mixed up a brown. Actually, you can do that by mixing red and green together, and got my tree trunks in just because I knew those values were darker. And why am I doing this? It's one of my most common questions is why do you do an underpainting if you're just going to cover it up with pastel? Well, it provides a base and a foundation. In this case, I wanted to capture the glowing colors that were in this scene. So this underpainting already accomplished that for me, and adding the pastels is going to be so much easier now. Now that my surface is dry, it's time to add soft pastels. I pre-selected some colors and put them in this little drawer. It's a drawer from a little pastel storage system. And again, I'll have links to all products in the description of this video. And I had also recently used these Earthberry pastels. This is their Grand Canyon selection or set. And I loved it so much, and I thought the colors would work nice for this painting. And I also used quite a few pastels from their Wildflower set. It's the one in my right hand here. Now, if you are a patron of mine on my Patreon page, you have already received this video, the full version that's over 2 hours long, real time, all of my commentary, and me just talking you through step by step the entire painting. And you are going to see me complete this painting here on the Monet Cafe channel. It'll be sped up a little bit, and I have a special section at the end where I will show you in real time my easy steps for painting flowers. Real quickly, let me share with you though how you can get this one lesson if you don't want to subscribe and become a patron, and it's only $5 a month. But if you're just one of those people you don't like to subscribe, I have a shop on my Patreon page, and I have this lesson for sale individually. It's only $25, and I think it's well worth it. Again, 2 hours, almost all real time. By the way, I have other collections of lessons for sale on my Patreon page. This one is beginner lessons, and I believe there's like 23 full lessons in that package. of lessons. I have another collection that's flower painting fun. There's over 30 lessons in that one. So check out my Patreon shop. I'll have the link probably right here in the top corner and also down in the description of this video. All right, let's watch the pastel application for this painting. I began with my darks. This is a really beautiful dark purple. It's kind of a neutral dark purple. It's a Mount Vision pastel. And the reference image had this beautiful, almost like ellipse of trees, dark trees, kind of like a canopy surrounding that area where the sun is and the tree trunks. So I'm just scumbling in just some of these dark pastels just to get a general idea of where my darkest values are. Obviously, there's some dark values in the path of these shadows, and they gradually get lighter as they recede into the distance. So this is just the beginning stage of getting the darkest values in first. And now I have this lovely little lavender purple. It's kind of a warm purple, and I'm getting it in areas where the value isn't that as dark as the first color that I put down, but I'm keeping it cool in color temperature because that happens often with shadows. And I went ahead and used that color to get in the mountain in the distance and some of the distant trees behind the main trees. And now I'm adding a gradation of values from dark to light with some beautiful warm tones. I had kind of a deep magenta and then a pretty little orange. They are gradually getting lighter and even a little warmer in color temperature as they get closer to the sun. A simple little rule I often like to share is think about the sun with yourself. You get warmer in the sun, and so color temperatures get warmer as well, and obviously lighter. So these trees that are in the path of the sun, they're getting a little bit warmer, and the value is lighter than those darker trees that have more of the shadow. I'm keeping a light touch so the surface still shows through, and here, remember how I did the sky with the watercolor in yellow? I am going to be covering the sky with a little bit of this pretty peachy pink color, still allowing some of that yellow to peek through. It really made it glow. And I know this portion is fast here on the Monet Cafe version of this lesson, but I think you'll still get a lot of valuable information. And like I said, I'm going to be sharing my flower painting easy steps very soon. All right, it's time to finally add some green, right? There was a beautiful warm green. The greens, as they get closer to the viewer, get a little cooler in color temperatures. I decided to give that mountain a little bit of a blue-purple color in the distance just for fun. And I'm adding a few other warm greens, developing some of the trees. At this point, the big trees on the sides are kind of a big blob. So the way you paint trees is you gradually add more of your lighter values as you go, and you carve into the trees the shapes of the sky negatively. It's called painting sky holes. And I had so much fun creating this painting. I loved the reference image. I thought it was gorgeous, and it was just really a lot of fun. All right, let's talk about these flowers. I wanted there to be some color echoing in this painting, so the mountain in the distance was this pretty blue purple, so I decided to make some of my flowers that same color, especially the ones that are in shadow, that are within the path of the shadow. And I know I'm dancing around and still very fast here, but I promise you at the end, I've got this one flower. I'm going to show you in real time exactly how I do it. So I always equate painting. It feels like a dance. I'm always kind of dancing all over the whole painting. And I find that it helps to keep the painting cohesive and harmonious. As with every painting, focal point should be something you want well defined. For this image, I really could see the focal point was some of the brilliant sun that's coming from between, right in that area, right there, between those trees, and also that area as it radiates out where those shadows are. Now, I also wanted the flowers, even though they're not a main focal point, they're a nice lead-in. And I had my flowers all developing, but I knew I wanted one flower that was going to be very special. It's going to be the flower that says, hey, come on into this painting and come down this sunlit path to explore. And notice how some of the flowers are cooler in color temperature. They're buried deeper in the grasses or they're in the path of the shadow. But some of them are reaching up higher, and they're the ones that get the most brilliant light. All right, here we are. Like I promised, this is real time. And I wanted to show you my technique for painting flowers. First, I begin with a cooler, shadowy color that's going to be a value or so darker than your final stroke. So I got in that beautiful violet that's from the Wildflower set of Earthberry pastels. And then I go a value lighter, and I just kind of layer, I don't cover up all of the purple violet. I just layer a few strokes on top, letting that other shadowy part peek through. And then finally, I get my lightest values, and I make marks for the petals where the sunlight would be catching. Finally, I develop the center of the flower. This doesn't have to be last. You can do it first if you want, but I do the same technique. I start with my darkest value first. This would be more of the shadowy side of the center of the flower. Then I go a little bit lighter with this pretty orange color. And then finally, I add a beautiful golden pastel color on top that gives the feeling that sunlight is catching that top part of the flower center. And so it's really not all that hard. Look, and there you've got a flower in just a few strokes. I also like to add some elements of contrast often in a painting. These little, perhaps seed heads to some flowers in a dark purple really were a nice lead-in to this painting. And here is the final. I'm sorry I filmed it vertically. I've been making YouTube videos for so long, I don't know why I didn't turn it horizontally, but I think you can see some of the elements of this painting. And once again, the full version with almost all real time, me talking while I'm painting, it's a total step-by-step tutorial, is over on my Patreon page. You can purchase that lesson individually, or you can become a patron for only $5 a month and you get all of the goodies. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Like this video. It really means a lot. And as always, God bless and happy painting.